Hi all, welcome to session 26 of Azure Data Factory, and in this session we are going to look into another property of Get Metadata, that is size. Now let's get into hands-on, and after that I will explain the use of this property. Okay, so I am right now in my Azure Data Factory studio, and let me go to the author section. In the meantime, let's just prepare some data set for our hands-on. So I'm going to create a CSV file in which I have an ID, student name, batch, and string. These are the four columns. Okay, so I'm going to say 1 2 3 4. I'm going to give name as, let's say, Ravi, some random names, Akash, Mahesh, and let me, okay, I'm not able to find any names also, so I'm going to say Sunita. Okay, so here we have our student names. After that I'm gonna give the batch, so I'm going to say 2010. I'm going to give it as 2011, again 2010, and I'm going to say 2009. Okay, here I'm going to say science, arts, commerce, and science. Okay, so this is our data set. Let me save it somewhere. I'm going into my downloads. I'm going to say students dot students. I'm going to say all files students dot csv. Okay, so this is the file. Now let me go back to my data factory resource group in Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. I'm going to go here, and in the containers I'm going to go into source variable input. I'm deleting both of these artifacts right now, and I'm going to upload my students.csv file. Okay, so here I have uploaded my students.csv. Now let's start working with a Azure Data Factory Studio, and I'm going to create a new pipeline here. So here I'm going to use a simple pipeline to demo how we can extract the size of a file using the Get Metadata activity. So I'm going to say pl get metadata size, or I would say file size, in order to be a little more specific. Okay, and here also I'm going to use two activities. One is going to be the get metadata, another one will be set variable. Let me connect these two. Okay, so in get metadata activity I'm going to say get student file size, and here I'm going to say set file size variable. Okay, so these are going to be the name of the activity. So here in get metadata I'm going into settings, and I'm going to select our CSV dataset. Here again everything will be same as before, like last sessions. So we have variable input, and instead of dummy.txt I'm going to use students.csv. Okay, simple. And after that, once you come to field list, you choose size. Okay, you have chosen size. So that was all in our get metadata activity. Now in the set variable activity, I'm going to create a new variable. You can directly create a variable in your pipeline and then assign it. So I'm going to do that. It is a little more straightforward. So I'm going to say file size. So here in that you will get the file size variable. and after that click on add dynamic content. If you come down, you will get size of the file in bytes. Okay, this is what we need, and we are done with our pipeline. In order to check if everything is configured correctly, let's validate. Yep, everything is looking good. Let me publish this pipeline. I'm going through all these properties of Get Metadata Activity because it is very important for us. Whenever we are developing a pipeline in Azure Data Factory, chances is very high that you will use Get Metadata in some way. Okay, so in order to use this effectively, you should know this activity in and out. So that is why I am explaining each and every property that is supported in the Get Metadata Activity. So after we are done with all of our activities in Get Metadata, I am going to summarize it so that you have a bigger picture of what we have done so far, and you will be remembering each and every activity and how it is being used. Okay, so now let's run this pipeline. Add trigger now. So the pipeline has started executing. Let me go to the monitor section, and it failed. Let's see why it failed. Okay, string. So we have to give it an integer. Let me quickly rectify the error. So I'm going to select integer here. Okay, let me publish one more time. I can put a default value also. So let me put 0 for now. Let me publish. Done. Now let's do our execution one more time. As you can see, our pipeline has started executing and it has successfully executed. Now if you see get student file size, it is giving you the size in bytes, 116 bytes. Okay, and similarly in the variable you will see it has assigned that value to file size variable. Now what is the use of it? So suppose our file is empty, so it will only contain header, it will not contain anything else, correct? So let me save the file. Now this file is empty, we do not have any records and we just have header. Let me replace the existing file here. So I'm going to go and update the file with the empty file. Okay, successfully updated. Let's run the pipeline one more time. So let me go back, add trigger now. Succeeded. Okay, so now if you see, the number of bytes has reduced, that is 28. Okay, so if you are looking into a file and checking its size in order to make sure that you do not process an empty file, you can use the size property. So in pipeline what you can do, you can use an if activity which we'll see later. That if activity will check what is the size of the file. If size of the file is 28 or less than that, that means the file is empty, it only contains headers and you don't have to process that file. But if the size of the file is greater than 28, that means the data is present and you have to process that file. So this particular thing saves a lot of processing power. So for example, when you are doing this on a large data set and if your file is empty, the first two activity itself will tell you whether the pipeline should execute further or not. So that is why size, even if it is a simple property, it can really help you in saving cost when you are running the pipeline, and also saving time because you don't have to unnecessary process a empty file. Okay, so this is the size property of the get metadata activity for you. Now this particular activity only applies on the files, not on folders, not on any databases, only specific to files, because size attribute is related to file only. So make sure that whenever you are working with files in Azure Data Factory, you are aware of the size property of get metadata activity. And whenever you have to deal with certain scenarios where you want to depend on the size information of the file, you use get metadata size property in your pipeline. Okay, so that was all for today's session. And please like, share, and subscribe if you are liking my content. And let's meet in the next session with more information. Thank you so much and see you in the next session.